Is that the amendment moved by the honourable member for Brisbane to the amendment moved by the honourable member for Deakin be disagreed to, and I call the honourable member for Richmond.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I am very proud to rise today to speak in support of this bill, the Social Services and Other Legislation Amendment Strengthening the Safety Net Bill 2023. I'm very proud because this bill really is significant in our and Labor's ongoing commitment to improve our social safety net, which of course forms the backbone of our nation's welfare system. We're doing that because we know people are doing it tough. We know there is massive increases in the cost of living, and we speak to people every day who are in this situation. And that's why, through this bill and our budget, we have addressed many of those issues, because we understand how important it is. Labor hears what the community says and acts. And by implementing the income support measures outlined in our government's $14.6 billion cost of living package, what this bill aims to do is assist the lives of those millions of Australians who we know are having a really difficult time. Now, we did this through our budget and through our budget measures, a responsible budget. Now, despite inheriting that $1 trillion of debt from the previous government, we have rightly provided very much needed cost of living initiatives. We were able to provide more of those $14 billion cost of living initiatives, and they have made a difference and will be making a difference in the lives of so many people, particularly tripling that bulk billing rebate for GPs, meaning so many more people can access a doctor. It's such an important issue, and I know in my electorate, where we have a large number of senior Australians, it makes such a difference. As they regularly do have to access their doctor and have had difficulties. We have addressed that major cost of living concern through providing cheaper childcare, such an important initiative for so many reasons, for the children to access childcare, for the parents, and particularly for women to be able to then, predominantly women, go back and engage in the workforce, which is very good for our economy as well. There have been many calls for all these measures. Also through providing cheaper medicines, so vitally important, and our assistance with power bills. And then, of course, all of the important measures in this bill as well, a whole suite of measures to assist with cost of living issues at the moment. But we can only have these measures in place and deliver that funding with responsible economic management. We have to have that to deliver those funds to make sure we can increase these social safety nets. And yes, budgets are ones of making tough choices, but we know it's important to deliver this support for the most vulnerable Australians. And remember, many of these measures had not been addressed over the past decade with the previous government, because it takes a Labor government to be able to balance that budget whilst also providing the support for vulnerable Australians. So there are many aspects of this bill, Deputy Speaker, that are very important in terms of strengthening the social safety net. And indeed, as I've said, one of our parties, the Labor Party's core values lies in providing that support for the most vulnerable in our community. And our social safety net, along with Medicare, stands as a strong foundation for our society, all built by us, by Labor governments. And it offers very important assistance to those who are facing financial hardships or often unforeseen challenges in their lives. It should be there for people when they need it, and it's therefore our responsibility as a government to strengthen this vital support system whenever we can, and we have made sure we have done that through our responsible budget measures. Now, one of those most important measures was increasing working age and student payments. The amendments proposed in this bill are both comprehensive and wide-ranging, addressing key areas of concern within our social safety net. And one of the central provisions of the bill is the increase in working age and student payments. Again, this is a major issue that I speak to many people in my electorate in Richmond on the New South Wales North Coast, one that they have raised with me on many occasions, and the need to increase it. And we brought up this issue many times when we were in opposition, and we didn't see any support from the now opposition when they were in government in terms of these measures. And what we have seen in this budget is that payments such as Job Seeker, Youth Allowance, Parenting Payment Partnered, AUS Study, AB Study, Disability Support, Pension Youth and Special Benefit What those changes will mean is a $40 per fortnight increase commencing from the 20th of September 2023. And I know that these measures and these increases are ones that many Australians have called for a very long period of time. And we, as I said, we have made these increases within the context of our budget framework and our economic framework as well, our responsible budget. But these increases are targeted to help those Australians who are doing it tough. And indeed, whilst the increase is modest, it is important for those individuals and families who rely on these important payments. Importantly, this increase is specifically targeted at individuals who are facing financial adversity, and it does acknowledge the real struggles faced by countless Australians who are on lowest incomes. It's important to also note the automatic indexation of these payments to reflect changes in the cost of living. By providing these increases, I think we really do send a message to the Australian community about the values of our government, that we have listened to them about needing to increase those supports. And this increase will provide essential assistance to approximately 1.1 million people, offering more assistance for them. And in my electorate of Richmond alone, this increase will support more than 7,000 people who need it most across that entire range of payments that I listed before. And when we look at the impact of this increase in numbers, combined with the indexation changes over the past year, the base rate of job seeker payment will have had a 14% increase since May 2022. This translates to over $90 more in the pockets of recipients every fortnight, resulting in over $2,300 of additional support each year. And this boost in that income is for those individuals and families needing that assistance with the rising cost of living. And another really important aspect of this bill and our budget was extending the eligibility for the higher single rate of job seeker for older Australians. And this bill extends that eligibility for the higher single rate of job seeker to single recipients aged 55 and over who have been on income support for 9 or more continuous months. This expansion recognises the very unique challenges faced by older Australians in the workforce, including age discrimination and often health-related obstacles. And this is particularly the case for older women. And this extension also is an acknowledgement of their many valuable skills, knowledge and experience, whilst looking to address some of the additional barriers they encounter when seeking employment. With this extension, approximately 52,000 Australians aged 55 to 59 will receive an increase of $92.10 per fortnight, providing greater financial support to them. In my electorate, this higher rate that already applies to those aged 60 and over will now support an additional 370 people aged between 55 and 59 years. Also, another important aspect of this bill, expanding eligibility for parenting payments single. This is very important because, as we know that single parents face immense challenges as they balance caring responsibilities with work or study commitments, and often unable to get to those study commitments or work commitments as well because of the nature of parenting. And these challenges don't disappear when their child turns 8. In fact, as we know, as children grow older, the demands of parenting can alter, but those challenges are ever present and ever time-consuming as well. By expanding the eligibility for parenting payment signal to parents with the youngest child under 14, this does give those parents greater capacity to take on more paid work or perhaps pursue other opportunities for professional development and all working towards a better future for themselves and their children. And this change will positively impact over 50,000 single parents, providing them with at least an extra $176.90 per fortnight. And I'm really proud to be part of a government that's delivering this much-needed boost. And again, in my electorate, this means that it'll be making a huge difference for those 450 eligible single parents in my area on the New South Wales North Coast. And I think that this increase recognises those very unique challenges that single parents have. A really important aspect, again, of this bill is increasing Commonwealth rent assistance, Again, an issue that many people in the community have called upon to see an increase in, because housing affordability is such a huge issue that affects countless Australians across the nation. Again, in my area, it is an absolute crisis in terms of the housing, homelessness and rental crisis, particularly with our devastating floods that we had last year. It has added to the situation, making it extremely difficult. We also understand that rising rents are placing a huge burden on individuals and families struggling to keep a roof over their head. And we have a whole suite of measures that we are putting forward in terms of addressing the housing situation. And in this case, and this bill acknowledges the pressing need for support in the rental market, and it includes a significant increase in Commonwealth rent assistance, indeed the largest increase in over 30 years. And for those who've already reached the maximum amount of assistance, we're proposing a 15% increase in their payment. This injection of support amounts to an average increase of approximately $24 per fortnight for over 1.1 million households. And again, that boost will provide assistance for many of those individuals and families who we know are struggling to support to meet their rental obligations. And again, in my electorate, this means more than 6,000 people will benefit in terms of this increase. I know how important it is. Many people have raised that with me, the fact there hasn't been that increase in rent assistance for such a long period of time. When we examine the impact of this increase, we see that since May 2022, the maximum amount of rent assistance for job seeker payment recipients who are single and living on their own will have increased by 24%. That's 24%, which is a marked increase in terms of providing that assistance. It does represent an additional $35 every fortnight, assisting with many of those people who are doing it tough. And as I said, Deputy Speaker, as we know, one of the biggest issues is addressing the housing, homelessness and rental crisis, and this government has a suite of measures. In fact, we have some in the Senate right now, and I implore those opposite, the Liberals, Nationals and the Greens, to stop blocking our housing bill, our $10 billion housing bill that will provide social and affordable housing for Australians who desperately need it, providing 4,000 homes for women and children fleeing domestic violence. So I implore those to think about those people that need these homes the most and actually pass that bill. It is disgraceful that many of them, particularly the Greens, are adamant about blocking it when there are desperate people who need to access affordable housing right now. And Deputy Speaker, can I say in conclusion, as a Labor government, we make no apologies at all for being committed to our absolute belief in the strength and importance of a strong safety net, providing all of those safety nets that people need. We do that in the context of responsible budget management. We can do both, but we need to have that responsible budget management to provide the funds to do all of these increases which were never done under the previous government. And I think this bill highlights our values as a Labor government to provide a range of measures to assist those millions of Australians who really are doing it tough in the current climate. We understand that because we speak to these people every day in our communities about the difficulties they face. This is what Labor governments stand for. We have a proud history of delivering major reforms that assist many Australians, particularly those vulnerable Australians that need assistance. And in this case, this is exactly what the Albanese Labor Government is delivering on. So I do want to recognise the impacts that this bill will have on the lives of millions of Australians and indeed tens of thousands in my electorate, as I've outlined throughout this speech, many that will be assisted, particularly with those increases in job seeker and those other payments, particularly with the increase in rental assistance, providing that greater support for those older Australians too. Right across the board, we are addressing so many of these concerns in which nothing has happened for so long. But this is what Labor governments do. We address many of these issues in that context of responsible economic management. And so I say to those, by supporting this bill, we all have the power to make a genuine difference in the lives of millions of Australians, to assist them at a time of greatest need, when we do have many cost of living pressures, and ensuring that those most vulnerable Australians are actually getting greater support. We are very proud in the context of our budget to have had such a major package, more than $10 billion in terms of cost of living relief, whether that's accessing GPs, whether it's cheaper medicines, whether it's providing support for power bills as well, cheaper childcare, and all of these social net significant changes will assist millions of Australians. And Deputy Speaker, I commend the bill to the House.